Well, I'm reading right here. The U.S. official met with
She
Brittany
talk,
Griner
she
in
talk,
Russia.
she talk. Stuff to make your seeds walk. Yo, we here, we back, we back. Let's start tagging some people. We gonna bring Bobby in whenever he gets here and whatnot. We got an action-packed show. Apologize for being late and whatnot. Um, you know, you know how we do. We'll rebroadcast this and get you on time, but this is gonna be an action-packed show. We got 3 topics we want to do today. We want to talk about the Brittany Griner situation. She's still over there in Russia, probably for another 2 months. I think what I read was that she'll be over there until May on this allegations of having some cannabis uh, inserts or cartridges in her vape in her luggage. And then we want to talk about the Kanye West versus DL Hewley, and that's a whole mental health thing, going on there. And then we also want to talk about the Ukraine situation because a lot of stuff has been going on with the Ukrainian situation. In particular, Black people are saying, should we be supporting, what I'm saying, the Ukraine? You know what I'm saying? When have they ever cared about us? But I also want to touch about on the Black people that are actually over there giving testimonies of how they're being discriminated against. Not to mention Hampton University has put out there in the news that they will be sponsoring 50 to 100 Ukrainian students. They were giving them scholarships to come study abroad at Hampton University. So some interesting things, going on in the news today, pardon self. And I just want to get on here and I want to tag some people and stuff and get them in the room and whatnot. Um, I mean, off jump, I mean, what are your thoughts about what's been going on in the news with, let's start it off with the Brittany Griner situation.
My thoughts on that is, and I was just saying behind the scenes, I'm saying I wish our people understand when it comes to outside foreign countries, their tolerance level when it comes to certain things that the U.S. may be a little more lenient on, they are more strict. So let me just get that out the way. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure the reason why I just read just now the U.S. official met with Brittany Griner in Russia. I just read an article on that, so I guess they are making progress to get her from over there. But I would not be surprised they're using her as a ploy or a leverage due to what's going on currently with Russia versus Ukraine right now. Um, of course, we haven't really heard much, but I'm pretty sure with everything going on, they've been very quiet about a lot of things. Probably in her best interest. Ah, hell, who is this? But anyway, that's my bell ring bell. Somebody walk by. But anyways, I hope she gets back and it's like, well, and what you said also, Lottie, is probably is you actually is right about that. She has a certain privilege, her being a very known basketball player. Yeah, she'll be able to get out her situation a little more quickly and more, excuse me, or more effectively compared to a normal person or a normal American over there right now who may be over there abroad. But that's really all I can really say on that, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, we just focus on Brittany right now. We all talking about the Ukraine.
Yeah, I want to hear what Doc has to say about the whole
Oh
Brittany.
my.
Said you had an article with like 4 different sides or something like
that. So from what I understand, there have been people in her camp that have asked for people not to bring attention to the fact that she's there, because we also forget that, I'm sorry, as Black people, we technically don't have as much value as a leverage point as someone who is not. So I know from her camp, there are people that have asked for people not to tag and not to discuss it because we're making the situation worse. But on the other hand, I know if you were a clear American or whatever, you would expect to be some negotiations, or it is good that I guess either the State Department or someone did have an opportunity to visit with her, but it's difficult. And what I mean by the four sides, also there are people, I guess, that aren't as, I don't want to say they aren't as concerned, but and that's terrible to think that people have to live their lives in a certain way before you care. So I understand there was like domestic violence in a relationship that she was in, and all these things. So they're like, well, wash your hands. Oh well, that's how it goes. But
Wait, you
that's,
said there was domestic violence when? What happened?
with her and her partner or something.
Oh,
That was one of the articles that.
hmm.
So there are some people that aren't as concerned. Think, but this isn't an appropriate
Oh wow.
retribution for that. So,
Same thing
but
we did in Antonio Brown. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right. So it's just a difficult situation, also because I mean, as someone that has lived abroad, you sometimes need to be aware of the. But I mean, she had a very high public profile, so a regular smuggler, what black person, when you're going and you're living abroad, you have to be very aware of the rules in their country because. Yeah, you are not given deference, or you can't. Your American privilege goes but so far because sometimes they'll make the assumption that you're not from the U.S., so therefore, whatever happens, happens. But yeah, it's difficult to know what we should do if we're making the situation worse by discussing it because there are people to ask that we not discuss it, versus we need to pay attention. Hopefully, something will be done.
yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned that because that was going to be one of my things. It's like a lot of times when you get on these timelines, you go down a specific rabbit hole, and you can go down that one lane, and unless you actually look for it objectively, you're not going to find what Trisha just now said. And I read a statement, more than one statement, where her wife said, "Please
Mhm.
protect our privacy." And
Right.
her legal team was like, "We're not really going to talk about this because it's so complicated." And
Right.
so a lot of people will get you to think, well, the NBA ain't doing nothing.
Mhm.
The WNBA is doing something, but you got
Mhm.
to understand this is the Kremlin, and they're in a country where it's kind of a cold war, where Russia has said, we're kind of upset with the West, and
Mhm.
the United States had their hands in some sanctions against Russia, and the United States has kind of been clear where they stand between the Russia and Ukrainian conflict. Well, I don't
Mhm.
even know if you can call it a conflict. It's looking like an assault right now. And so it's like it's looking like she could be a bargaining chip.
Mhm.
She could be, what I'm saying, a real deal Holyfield political pawn that she got herself caught up in that. Now, some people could just be like, well, maybe she just needs to follow the rules. Okay, yeah, it's that, but when you got this much stuff up against you, it's seeming like to me it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if they wanted to hold her
Mhm.
there. They could have got her on a bottle of, what I'm saying, shea butter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or something that was 7 ounces as opposed to 3. You know what I mean? If they really want to, and let's remember too, Russia has, anti-LGBTQIA laws
Right.
back. So that's another thing against her. And like I was telling Precious backstage, see, here's the problem with one of the problems with the black community. We don't practice and train ourselves for situations to protect all black people.
Mhm.
That's the other side. I think there's a side, one way to look at it is like, yeah, we should probably just figure out how this works out because we don't even know what kind of influence we really do have. Because this is Russia. She's over there.
Mhm.
But on the same end, it's like we don't train ourselves to protect and advocate for all black people. And that's why that's why I personally be like, when black people be like, well, I don't know why they got to lead with their sexuality. I'm gay, this, I'm that. Because you as a straight person, you as a cisgender person never have to walk around for the most part and worry about your privilege being threatened because you're straight. Now she's over there and she got a couple different strikes against her. She's woman, she's gay, she's an American, you know what I mean? And she got contraband on her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, on one end, I think she has more privilege than your normal American, because there's other Americans over there that are detained right now as we speak. And I would say she's got a way better puncher's chance than them, being a millionaire, you know what I'm saying, and being a celebrity, you know what I'm saying, with a legal team and an actual whole franchise behind her called the WNBA/NBA. However, let's be clear, you know what I mean? Like, there are a whole bunch of black people who are gay in the LGBTQIA community who don't have as much privilege as her.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not just concentrate and hyper focus on the privilege that Griner has. Let's talk about the gay black people that don't have that privilege, and let's train ourselves on a daily basis to have their back too. And stop wondering why they lead with their sexuality. They lead with their sexuality because it feels good to be out in the open and express who you are sexually, and not always have to, tuck your hand and be in the closet. So there's a lot of things that are playing our part here. And I didn't even know about the whole domestic violence thing. You know what I mean? And we do that a lot too. You know what I'm saying? We want to, pick and choose what black people, to recognize and defend and advocate for it. And we want to start bringing up all this other stuff. And you're like, why are you bringing this stuff up now? And what does that have to do with anything? She's not being detained in Russia for domestic violence. You know what I mean? So, but I feel you though, Trish. Like, I've been overseas and I had a bottle of shea butter that I made myself, and it wasn't even liquid. And they was like, "You can't take it." I didn't even argue with them. Take it. You can have it. I'm not even trying to argue with you people over here in the UK. Mm-hmm. What's your perspective on it, Bobby?
I think a lot of it's been said. I mean, the biggest point of reference I had is that I got stopped with my girlfriend at the Canadian border, which is just on the other side of Detroit, because my girlfriend had pepper spray, and they asked her, "Why would you have pepper spray?" Deanna was like, "I'm 5'1" and I live in Detroit. Like, what do you? Is that a real question?" And then they were going to detain us. They were going to bring us into whatever their consulate was or whatever their facility was, where they question people about whatever our intentions were in their country. And at the time, I worked for Clark County in Las Vegas as a prosecutor, and I pulled out my identification card identifying myself as a prosecutor, and they let us go. So I know that there are people out there that don't have that privilege, whether it's a job that they associate with or respect, or it's talent, or it's visibility. But like you said, ultimately, people do have to understand that we can burn down every building in King County and it wouldn't make anybody in Russia change their mind about anything. Like, you're truly powerless when you cross the ocean and you go to a different place. And I think one habit that we get into as Americans is thinking that we can somehow create a policy change whenever we're upset. And there's literally nothing that you can do. It's called sovereignty. They get to do that. I mean, it would be like if somebody carries opium in the United States. We have this thing, possession of controlled substance, in my jurisdiction. You get ROR'd, or released on your own reconnaissance, after like 48 hours. No big deal, right? Okay, but try getting ROR'd in China with heroin. You're not. You might be there for a decade. You don't know. So it's not about following the rules to me. It's just about realizing that the world is a complex place, and wherever you go, that American spirit of justice and like we can reach the right outcome for what's fair is just not always present, and it's something you have to be aware of.
Yeah, I had a similar experience in Canada also. I was in Vancouver, and I self-reported. I was like, dang, we was bringing over we had got a couple of bottles of whiskey and whatnot, and you got to report that. Man, I was thinking, man, why did I do this, man? So I got, the the softy. I got, I would call it a soft detained. Like okay, come on, drive over there, go over
We
there.
self-reported too, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. We still got detained. We were going to get hardcore
So you got the
detained.
soft detainment too, and I had to wait in this long line and do the right thing because I know, because I always think of my grandmother, my mother, and the elders in my Black families, like, do the right thing, because if you don't, then the consequences could be worse. It almost reminds me of like when you got in trouble and your mom will be like, well, if you tell me the truth, then it won't be as bad. And sometimes they'd be like, well, tell me the truth and you won't get in trouble and you still get a whooping. It's like, God dang, you hustled me. But
that reminds me of that situation. Not I think it was the last year before, during the pandemic. That woman went to, I think, the Netherlands or something, and she was supposed to quarantine for 2 weeks or for 14 days, and she didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And somehow the officials of that country snatched her up and threw her in a jail cell, mm-hmm, for the U.S. to come get her because she didn't follow the laws and the rules there. Mm-hmm. I forgot what country. I think it was the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. It's one of those lands. One of the countries she went to.
It's one of those lands.
It's too hard to say that.
Precious is my other country. Okay, Switzerland, Netherlands.
I think
it's important to find out. It's one of them. They were not playing that.
You need to find out how they treat. What I do before I travel is I always find out how they treat people that look like me. So in my case, how they treat West Africans, because I always assume before I open my mouth, that's how they're going to treat me. I cannot go around thinking that because I'm American, I can ask for the consulate and all that. They aren't going to. I have been strip searched probably more times. So I have U.S. and Dutch citizenships by both countries, depending on how I use, because they're usually, they assume that, oh, you travel so much, there's so many stamps here, you have 2 passports, let me check you. And knowing that, that's because when I'm going back to the Netherlands, they're assuming that I'm West African or African and I'm a drug mule or something. When I'm coming back here, they're assuming, oh, she lives in the Netherlands and drugs are legal there, so she's a drug mule. So you have to learn the rules, and also don't assume, yes, the US has democracy. There are other forms of democracy. So when you go to other countries, don't act like, oh, I'm from the superior US where this wouldn't happen and I would advocate. No, they have a different system. So be respectful of whatever system they have, because if you are detained, you will need to find out, especially, how they work with lawyers, and guilty until proven innocent is not just in the US, that's also in other countries as well. So just try to be respectful. It's like when you get this, international driver's license that everyone can get, when, you can just buy it essentially at AAA. You still need to figure out what the specific rules are in that country, because you're liable to get arrested for not following their rules. Just don't assume that all the rules, that's even in states, because I know in states they have different rules. You still can't say, well, I'm from Washington, so I'm going to drive like I'm from Washington and ignore all the California rules. No, you need to, it's your responsibility to find out.
Yeah.
But that's not applicable in this case, because with Britain, I mean, they're charging her for like drug trafficking. So even the small amount she had, and what are you talking about trafficking? You're going to traffic like one cartridge to millions of people. That's not trafficking. But
yeah, they're trying to give her a decade.
Yeah,
I think she's gonna pull through on this one though. I think she'll be detained probably for another 2 months or so, and I think that the United States will, and in conjunction with the WNBA and the NBA, it's going to take some money though, and I think that politically the United States is going to have to give something up, and I think that that's in their favor, because I think that's the reason why Russia is doing it. You know what I mean? And they want to use her as a political prisoner. I just remember traveling, and I had similar experiences as you until the president of China, you know what I'm saying, came to Lincoln High School, and we took 96 students to China. But prior to that, man, I have a name, Logic 7 Allah Man. So I'm like, I'm getting checked, you know what I'm saying, all the time. And then they used to always check like my growing area. And I'm thinking, man, you know, and I'm thinking all the time, like, this is even after I came back from China. And I'll tell you the reason why I think I became less of a threat when I came back from China. But I found out that they were checking me because I have an actual incision. I had surgery on my groin, and infected lymph node was removed, and that actually shows up as an incision on those detectors. That's how sensitive those things is. So it's like, you know, did you cut yourself open, insert something in you, and then you're going to pull it out, you know, during the plane ride? So that's why I figured that out, because I was like, oh man, I must have a serious weapon down there. But I knew once the president of China came to Lincoln High School that it would be less and less of a problem, because I had to get my name run through the Secret Service and all these FBI things because the president came there. And I know they was on, and I'm not doing nothing, you know what I'm saying? And I really don't care, you know what I'm saying, what they know about me, you know what I'm saying? I'm not doing nothing. I'm not doing anything wrong. So that's when I came to the realization they're not going to be messing with me, because they already know I'm not doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like, they've been following me for a while. I'm sure of it. But I did want to get to this. Stop, Bobby. I did want to get to this this comment by James Kemp, and I want to know what y'all think about the Western Hemisphere don't respect Black folks because we aren't together like other communities. End of the day, she's Black, and they'll hold her for what they see fit. I don't think this has anything to do with us not sticking together like other communities. I think
I think the first sentence is highly subjective.
What happened?
I think the first sentence, that the Western Hemisphere don't respect Black folk because we aren't together like other communities, I think that's highly subjective, because I think we can come together. It's just that we don't do it consistently.
Yeah,
the last sentence is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it matters how well we stick together or not, man. I think that she would be having the same situation that she's in right now.
Bobby, you talking?
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
I guess I was thinking about the historical reference of, I don't know if he was Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali at the time, but I know that, political prisoners were taken at one point. I want to say it was in Iraq. And he, negotiated essentially the freeing of all these Western political prisoners, but he was doing it as a Muslim, not as an American. And so you can see culturally how, this person is being, like you said, if they're a pawn, they're a pawn because they're American. The fact that they're Black might actually, in this very specific incident, may not be the most important thing. It might just be the fact that they're a famous American overseas, and they're, like you said, involved in a Cold War or a war of ideology with the United States right now that's highlighted by what's happening in Ukraine, and they have an opportunity to make a statement by holding this person. I don't know. I think if there was another person that they could have held of equal place in the WNBA, maybe they would have, but obviously they respect her as a superstar because it wouldn't make the point that they want to make if she wasn't that person. Yeah. So I actually think it's more about skill level and about Americanness more than race per se. Now you could say, obviously, proportions wise, the WNBA is so Black that it was always going to be a Black player, but that's just not necessarily true.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I wondered why her. And you know what? We still can't pass up the possibility that it was planted on her. Mm-hmm. And they just wanted to entertain her. Because look, you mean to tell me out of that whole team, because I thought about the same thing you just now said, and to add on to what you said, Bobby, out of that whole team, she's the only one who's got some form of contraband on her?
That's a thought.
But also, WNBA players have been playing in Russia for the last 5 years. Okay, at least. They were going over there to make more money. So this whole phenomena of players coming overseas over the last 5 years, it's not the first time that somebody has got popped with this.
Right.
That just seems like such a low percentage probability that over all the flights, all of the trips through customs, that only one player, and it just so happened to be her, got popped. Highly unlikely.
Yeah. 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 That's why I think she's being placed as a political pawn and aka a political prisoner right now. And if she is, I wonder how she's being treated over there too. I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a concern of mine too. Um, Kemp is bringing out all the smoke today. He says, "When has anyone in the United States ever went to bat from someone black held as basically a hostage? Black folks better check the laws when they go abroad. Why isn't the alphabet community not saying anything, just saying?" So maybe he's talking about the when he says the alphabet community. I think a lot of times that's code word for white folks in the LGBTQIA community.
I mean, I thought
Well,
they were talking about the LGBT as a whole. I didn't think it was pointed to any particular race within the LGBT community. I'm thinking alphabet. I'm thinking he's talking about the whole crew.
well, they could be respecting what her wife said in terms of back off. I do remember it was either last year or the year before. There was a black lesbian couple that went to Dubai. Remember, they were arrested for being gay, and people stood up and said something about that. So, I I don't want to speak for that community since I'm not a part of, but
Right.
I would assume maybe they're respecting what a also a member of the LGBTQI community, her wife, is telling people to back off. So maybe they're just listening to her to back off.
Yeah, and I understand why people say that, you know, and I understand why people were like, if it was a certain player, then, and I want to get to that, you know, would she get the same treatment? But it's like some of y'all don't know the whole story. Like when someone's being like, legal matters are private for a reason, and stop thinking you know everything when you don't. You know what I mean? So, you know, people just need to do their Googles and stuff like that. Because I heard the same thing, like I said, that Doc heard, you know, Dr. Diamond said about, you know, her wife clearly said, you know, protect our privacy. And the legal team was like, man, we're not revealing a lot of stuff right now because this is a legal matter. So let me ask y'all something real quick before we move on. Do y'all think the results would be different if it was an NBA star, NBA player? I mean, what's the Griner equivalent in the NBA? You think it would be the same thing if it was a Kevin Durant?
It would have to be another NBA player that had a domestic violence past, and I think it would be the exact same thing. People would be probably even more focused on the fact that he had a DV, that he pled guilty to domestic violence, and that's what happens. So I think it would be the same.
I think so too.
Especially over there, I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, I think to them, a Negro is a Negro over there to them, and we're gonna use you as a pawn. You feel me? What you think, Bob?
I was really stuck on trying to make a comparison, but the problem is that we just know that the way male and female sports are viewed in America, you can't even make a direct comparison with the WNBA and the NBA. Like the WNBA has got to be something like men's soccer, where you could be the best men's soccer player and people would know who you are, but you wouldn't get recognized like LeBron would, the best, like, you know what I mean? So it's not even a direct comparison. You can't even, Kevin Durant is a global superstar, completely recognizable by all people in every corner of the earth. Brittany Griner is one of probably the best female basketball players everywhere. I don't know that it's getting the same level of attention. And so I don't know that she's as recognizable as him. And I think that makes a difference. I don't know that it would be the same, because if you did do this to a LeBron James, the president of the United States would be on the phone right now. Right now. There's just no world where an American president would allow arguably the best athlete in the United States to be detained outside of the country. It would never happen. That would be such a flex. I just can't see it.
Even if he was gay, not saying LeBron James is gay, but I'm
Yeah.
saying
Oh
he
no.
thinks I'm not saying he is, but what Trisha said on the stats thing, kind of a good question. Even if he was gay,
And that matters in our
I don't think
analysis.
anyone was going to think that you were saying that LeBron James was.
I mean, who cares? There's some LeBron haters out there. There's a lot of LeBron haters out there, and I didn't want nobody trying to paint me as that. There's a lot of LeBron haters out there.
But
Okay.
that's important,
Right.
though, right? But that's important in the analysis because it's about how we value that person as a country.
Right.
And so that's what that's about. I mean, just to give you an apples to apples, right? LeVar Ball's son got arrested in China and got released within a week.
Well, because he got pardoned by Trump. Well, I don't know if he
The
got
president of the United States intervened for an amateur basketball player whose dad is more famous than him.
Nepotism.
Yeah. So
this cannot happen with a male athlete that is anywhere near that status. It just wouldn't.
And that was definitely, and I would argue that was definitely a political move by Trump to try to wield some kind of leverage with the Black community.
Absolutely, but it was worth it to him. Is the point?
Mm-hmm. And he's doing the same thing. He did the same thing with Kanye. All the Black people he could let out of prison, he wants to let out. Uber.
But if that's the case, then Mr. Kemp might have been right, because then the statement becomes that it has to be worth it to the president in terms of what it will do to him for social capital with Black Americans to intervene. And so if you have a Black person who splits our community because of their sexuality and because of their criminal history, it may not be worth it for him in social capital to wield that power. So now it is about how we support. And that's an interesting thing to think about. So maybe Mr. Beck's point cannot be put aside so easily.
I don't, and I will push back a little bit. I understand what you're saying. That's one way to look at it. I would say those people that I just now mentioned, like Kanye, Ball, are venture capitalists too. And I think it's the leverage when it comes to having leverage within the very small elite venture capitalists in the Black community and not the Black community. So I think it's the leverage amongst the wealthy Black people rather than, you know what I'm saying, Black people in the Black community. So I still hold true to my argument that the Black community could be together all they want and be solidified and united, but they still want the Black wealthy. The Black wealthy is overrated to me in our community, you know. Anthony Washington said Griner isn't the only one. I know a lot of players that bring weed to other countries. I feel bad for her, but there was always countries that you should take more precaution, especially when there's a conflict. This was before the conflict, though, mind you. But anyways, I don't like how they are judging her for having a vape pen. It's a normal practice for some athletes. Again, I don't know if bringing it to Russia was smart. Okay. If that was the case, she shouldn't have brought her whole dang body to Russia because she's gay. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose for her if that's the case. You feel me? Anthony Washington also said corporations, corporate dollars. Yep. I don't care how united the Black community is, you know what I'm saying? It's about those corporate dollars. And I think venture capitalists like Kanye, and it's always thought it was interesting. Like, you want to let Larry Hoover out. I'm not saying he's not a good person to let out of prison, whatever. I do think he is a form of a political prisoner, but why not Mumia? Why not Mumia? Why not him and all these other people? But you're going to, let out a person, who, was accused of, drug trafficking, you know what I'm saying? And RICO laws based on what I know about it. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why they wanted to, they had a hit on Rick Ross's head because he was saying, he wanted to be like Larry Hoover. And it felt like it messed up their case because he was in jail, in prison, saying he's innocent of drug charges. But then here's Rick Ross, who's named after another, true to life, drug dealer who was incarcerated for over a decade, saying, I want to be like him because I want to, I sell the most drugs. So it's just kind of interesting. I'm gonna take this one last one, and I want to move on to the next one. If Sue Bird was detained, or her wife Megan Rapinoe, they would get them out. I don't know about that. What y'all think? I don't think so.
I don't know who they are, so I can't comment.
Cage Bird sings. You know what? To be honest with you, it would be even a bigger bargaining chip for him, maybe because she's white. I don't know. I think Sue Bird would be locked up too.
Yeah, me too.
I know what Cage Bird sings.
We're going to talk about these students.
Let's move on. Let's keep it over there in that side of the world. How do we support the blacks in the Ukraine? Because this has been coming up. So Ukraine gets invaded, they get bullied by Russia, and then a lot of people are like, "Hey, man, we need to, support the Ukraine." And I feel it from an education standpoint because my school it's a mini community. It's a mini international community. So we got students from the Ukraine, we got staff members from the Ukraine that are feeling it. You know what I'm saying? Their family members over there. And then people were like, "Well, wait, hold on a minute." And I read up on this and I checked it out. Why should we be supporting the Ukraine when these Ukrainians, white folks, I want to get on that too, because look, I'm about to tell y'all right now. I think Whoopi's point is even more, resilient with this whole Ukraine-Russia thing, and I'm going to get to that. But why should we be supporting the Ukraine when there are black people over there getting denied? There, I saw several interviews from Black Ukrainians talking about they were harassing, physically putting their hands on people and letting women and children, and then the white, or I should say melanin deficient, because hey, are they really white? I guess they're, they're Ukrainians. They're not white, right? And we got to change our whole speak now. We can't even call them white people because Ukrainians are different than Russians, right? That's the reason why they're being, bombed, because a Russian can tell the difference between a Ukrainian, just like, Hitler could tell the difference between, a German and a Jew. Okay. So like this is why Whoopi's point is even more salient now, because she's thinking of from the perspective of those black Ukrainians over there saying, I can't even get out of here. But all these white melanin deficient beige Ukrainians, light-skinned Ukrainians are getting out. And then Hampton University drops a bomb and says, hey, we'll give scholarships for 50 to 100 Ukrainian students to, come here and study abroad.
And see, that one I want to address because everyone was clapping like seals when Mackenzie Bezos gave Hampton all that money. You don't know what strings. You can't have it both ways. You can't take all the money, because it's 2 years ago, she gave them like $20-30 million and everyone's like, yay, she's giving money. So there are sometimes strings or political things or moves you have to make. So you can't take the money and then think that you still have agency and can decide whatever it is you want to do. So yeah, they're offering 50 or I guess some Ukrainian students to go to Hampton, but they also took like millions and millions of dollars from a white lady. So yeah.
So what I hear you saying, Doc, is that when we take money from millionaires and venture capitalists and whatnot, that we actually, if they say, hey man, that 300 million I gave you, I need you to let 30 to 100 Ukrainians in.
Or you have to realize that when you take money, there are always, I don't want to say strings, but there are conditions, even if it's for PR or someone suggests that maybe you should do this for goodwill, but we take the money. So there are strings sometimes with the money. Not that they're necessarily saying you must do this, but you can strongly be encouraged to, because you took that much money. I think it was, 30 million? It was like their largest grant that they had ever received. So yeah, I
Maybe
guess
maybe that was the language in the grant, that you have to help marginalized people.
right. I shouldn't
I
laugh, but
it's not
okay.
funny, but it's funny. Because I guess they're saying, because
Oh, 30 million.
Hampton is like the Ivy League of
Mhm.
historical Black university. It really is. It's very prestigious. You know what I'm saying? Very, very prestigious. And I guess one person could make the argument that the students that are able to go there, you know what I'm saying, especially on, any kind of merit or whatnot, have more privilege than a Ukrainian refugee. So, it's a humanitarian effort. Let me ask you something as a fellow educator and administrator. If some entity or a venture capitalist was saying, we'll give you $30 million, but you got to help out the Ukraine, or you're going to lose all future funding, would you do it?
Oh boy. Oh, that's hard. I think probably the board, constituents and everything, they would probably want me to. So I probably would have to, because I'd have to think about the good that I could do for my own students. But I would also ensure that more of my community, that they don't have student loans and such. So I hate to do it, but yeah, I would have to do it.
Yeah, I do it too. I do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I would do it in a heartbeat. I sure would.
Yeah,
because I need that. I need that bag. I need those coins to help the rest of the students. Like, you know what I mean?
right.
And that's just how the world works. We gotta help white folks. We're living in their system. I mean, let's just be clear. There's a reason why we're taking $30 million grants from white folks.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of wonder, would a Ukrainian even accept to go there?
Yeah.
I think Hampton is better than the Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that if Hampton is a HBCU, it's mostly Black students there. Would still accept that? Because let me tell you something. One thing that this war is telling, you still think they're going to do it?
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. It's an education, and it's
Ukrainians are already trying to get to the Ukrainians are already trying to get to the United States prior to this. I'm telling you, I have staff members in the Tacoma School District who got family members over there who send money back, who've been over here, and they love it over here. Of course, Tacoma's got a very, very small, close knit, and kind of influential, Eastern European, community out there.
It's just that one thing about this war that told me is that one thing that war cannot defeat or get rid of is racism and anti-Black. Your whole country is getting bombed. You losing your homes. You're getting separated by your loved ones, but you still finding time to be racist. That's a hell of a disease.
Hey, let me circle back and contextualize my comment about Whoopi, because I don't think you guys understood it, because I didn't articulate myself. Is this situation between Russia and the Ukraine, is it not between white people harming other white people?
Technically, on paper, yes.
It's not.
This looks like two slightly different ethnic groups that have lived in close proximity for thousands of years, hashing out something that's probably been brewing for thousands of years, and this is just the newest rendition of it.
Okay. That's why I've started. I'm going away from white people. I'm going away from it. I'm telling you that right now, Steve Talk. I'm going further, closer and closer, and making a commitment to melanin deficient people. They get more privilege in the world. They do, in the global community. Melanin deficient people definitely get more privilege than people with more melanin in their pigmentation. And I think that's what Whoopi was trying to say when we look at things as a Black person, as a Black Ukrainian, seeing melanin deficient Ukrainians being treated better than them. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and in the videos, all the videos I saw, these Black Ukrainians were calling themselves Black, and they were calling those Ukrainians who were melanin deficient, they were calling them white. the white people got more privilege. And even though a Russian, there's no such thing as a white person anymore, except maybe in the United States.
Yeah.
There's no such thing, because we can always say they're an ethnicity, and they've been living in a certain gene pool for a certain amount of time, that they have phenotypical traits where a Russian can tell the difference between a Ukraine, and a Ukrainian can tell the difference between a Russian. So therefore, they're not white people.
I think that's always been outside of the US, that they've always had ethnicities. When I was living in the Netherlands, I mean, they literally would know even from what neighborhood or area of the Netherlands. So, oh, that person's Frisian. Like, I remember what that actress Femke Janssen, that I'm like, okay, that's a Dutch actress. And they're like, no, she's Frisian. I'm like, okay, she's from Friesland. Like the province that she's from. Can't you tell from her face that she's not like regular Dutch? Like, okay, but yeah, they've always been able to tell their ethnic groups.
No, I get it. Yep. But you and I look different, and you might be from, Gullah, you know what I'm saying? But we both black. We in the UK, we're gonna get treated the same way, whether you from Jamaica, the Caribbean, whether you Afro-Latino, whether you from Ghanaian, you know what I'm saying? Ghana, it don't matter. That's all I'm saying. You black. So I just don't think it's a reach, and people should be persecuted for being like, those are white people over there in Russia and the Ukraine, when the black people are getting treated, categorically different. And that's why I said, you know what I'm saying, I understand why people were offended by what Whoopi said, but I think that's what she was trying to say, of what's going on right now in the Ukraine with Black Ukrainians and melanin deficient Ukrainians getting better treatment than them.
But I think you need the black-white dichotomy for white people, and I think that's the reason why people in those places reject it, because they don't even think they have enough diversity to have this paradigm. Because anywhere where there's been any level of diversity, where there's actual crossover between these two diametrically opposed cultures, there's black and there's white. I mean, that's South Africa, right? That's the United States. That's Eastern Canada, for example, where they're so upset about it, they want to change the national language. These things happen everywhere where there's a large enough amount of black folks in a lot of times in a larger group of white folks, that the black-white paradigm comes about, because the white people band together. All the melanin deficient folks band together under a political bloc to disenfranchise the rights of the minority group that just so happens to be black. That's what you see over and over again. But if you were in a place where there was like no black people there, so like Sweden, for example, they're like, we're Swedish, there ain't no black people here. And so that makes total sense to them. And it actually makes sense to me too, because the paradigm doesn't exist, so they can focus on these things that we see as minute details. But they would be minute details to us as West Africans in America, because like you said, it's not like someone said, oh, the Italian slave master, and I'm not saying there was Italian slave masters, but if there was, it's not like there was a difference between the slave master with the O at the end of his last name versus Johnson versus Williams. It was the dichotomy was black, white, master, slave. And so I think that anywhere where you saw that, that's where we get black and white. But everywhere else, they can drill down further. It's a luxury having less diversity.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Should black people be concerned about what's happening to Ukrainians over there?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, because I mean,
yes.
Because if it comes down to hand-to-hand combat war, we're the ones that are going to be fighting there. So you need to be aware, because we're most likely going to be the ones on the front line. So you should care about things that have yet another risk in terms of your life, or people that you care about their lives. I mean, I have plenty of military family, some of which only went into the military to get the educational benefits. And yeah, we need to worry about them too, because there's a good chance if it comes to combat that they're going to be there.
That's a good point. I like that. I like that point. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I support that. And to add on to that, it's just like I don't feel like I'm not supporting anyone from the Ukraine by, what I'm saying, just living my life. I don't have to go to a protest or anything like that to be like, supporting them. If there was a Ukrainian student or a staff member that needed help, I mean, and there was a pot going around, I put money in the hat. But I feel like we have our unique communities and diverse communities, you know what I'm saying? And there's strength in that, you know what I'm saying? And I have no problem, you know what I'm saying, remembering that when we go through hard times that people aren't there for us. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a good memory. And I don't wish anything wrong for Ukrainians. But I'm at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way. I'm not, I mean, because we have, a lot, to do in our own communities. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just how I see it. I don't think that makes me any less of a good person. I don't think it makes me a bad person. It's just, and it's not like to get back at them or get back at anybody. It's just like, you have to be focused on your own house. You know what I'm saying? Someone comes over and asks for, a cup of sugar, no problem. But I'm not going to go through the neighborhood, knocking on these other doors. So you guys need any, corn flour. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to do it. What you think, Bobby? You over there making faces and whatnot, man?
I'm just thinking, I mean, when all this stuff happened with Ukraine, my initial reaction to it was that I don't actually know who's good. I don't know who's bad. I don't know who should be doing what. I don't know who to support. It's like totally outside of my base of knowledge. I just know that there's people out there risking life and limb potentially for land, which is concerning to me because we kind of reached a point in human history where most of the land is counted for. So that means that any sort of imperialism or colonial acts are kind of more egregious because most of the world has decided like, okay, the map is kind of the map now. And so it's really concerning when you see a country make a move to retain or to expand, because I don't want to see that age of human history repeat. The age of human history where
oh wow, we lost
the host.
Goddamn.
Yeah, but, that's scary. But yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people, trying to grab up land anymore because there's nowhere that's unoccupied. That's scary. It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me wonder what makes him want to do that after all this time. Like, what exactly? Why you? Because I believe Ukraine got their independence in 1990, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of makes me wonder why 30 years later you now want to try this. Like, what was the loophole or the hole in the fence that made him say it's time to attack or invade?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, Bobby. I don't know enough. I don't, and that's another.
I really don't. I don't know enough about that either.
It's just it's out of my geopolitical, competence. Like, I don't know.
You see that commercial back in the day? I think it was by Miller Lite when it was saying, when two of your friends race, you vote for the win. You root for the win. You're not rooting for any of the players in the race. That's kind of where I stand with stuff like this. Like, I'm rooting for a resolution. I don't necessarily care what happens in terms of like, oh, this side got up to this parallel and this side got this latitude and longitude mark. Like, no, I just want it to be over, and I want everybody to be able to return to their lives. That's it. That's what I want.
Would any of y'all be interested in trying to figure out how to support Blacks in the Ukraine? Like, entertaining, how do we support Blacks in the Ukraine? Y'all would support that?
Yeah.
If someone had an idea to
Hmm.
do so, but I'm not sure if there's one in the making or if there's again, is there anything we can do because we're way across the waters. We don't know. I don't know how many black people know the land. You know their customs. We don't know how that works over there. At least most of us don't. So I mean, we kind of asked this question when it came to what are the Haitians trying to cross over.
Yeah.
So we have that same situation then. So honestly, I don't see it too much difference to what this is. It's just that the Ukraine situation is a serious one because they're literally getting bombed and stuff, and of course, the black people over there getting turned away or being treated as third class citizens.
Right. Okay. We could transition to the last one, and we might have to do a part two on this. I mean, I feel like we always get deep in, in the weeds, when it comes to mental health or mental wellness, and it's for a reason because it's a pretty big issue. And so, DL Hughley, I want to give some context for this and the backdrop because how I see it started the whole thing between Kanye. Um, the Kanye West thing was he was asked on Vlad TV, and Vlad does this a lot. Vlad is a white Russian Jew, and I really do like the people that he has on the show because it gives opportunity for a lot of black people to tell their stories that they don't have an outlet for. I do appreciate that, but Vlad has a tendency of being messy when it comes to black folks. And what I mean by that is he'll ask a black person about what he thinks or she thinks about what another black person does or did. And he knows he's going to be able to get the clickbait, what DL Hooley says that Kanye needs to take his pills, and then boom, it's like, oh, I got to, and he literally has people going back and forth and he makes whole like hour long, 2 hour long episodes where he's asking black people what they think about what another black person did. And he did that a lot during the whole Colin Kaepernick. I know he had that one brother on there. I cannot remember this brother's name, but he was just like going in on, Kaepernick, and it made for a good show. But in the end, it doesn't. And I don't even know if I want him to do this either. It doesn't make for him trying to resolve conflict. It usually stirs up conflict. But on the flip end, like I said, I don't know if I want a white man, you know what I'm saying, trying to, sit back and resolve conflict between black people. Like, we got to call the white guy, so we can make up and we got to be on Vlad TV. No, he's not the Farrakhan of our community. Where have we gone if we get there? But he asked DL, what do you think about the situation with Kanye, quote unquote, harassing, Kim, basically stalking her? And he put his 2 cents in. It's like, this is not funny anymore. This is abuse, and we talked about this on C Talk. And DL says something like, hey, man, if you know that your wife is divorcing you for acting crazy and acting a fool, then why do you keep doing the things that pushed her away? If you know you need to take your pills for you to act right, then go ahead and take your pills. You can't be doing stuff wrong to her and abusing her and then send her a truck full of roses. And then that just set off the whole thing. Kanye says something basically to the point, man, I can pay people to take care of you. DL started asking him, who's telling you, or did you tell yourself what to put on this morning? Or was one of the voices in your head? I'm like, Jesus, Kanye, why'd you mess with a comedian? Like, maybe he has someone ghostwriting his jokes towards DL, because Kanye is known for that. But the internet went a little crazy saying DL was wrong for making light of Kanye's mental health. And I want to know what y'all think.
I don't think what DL said was wrong. I think he said what anybody would say. Like, even if he wasn't a comedian, he said what kind of should have been said a long time ago. because we can see here say he making fun of his mental health, but what I'm kind of been seeing lately is that we using mental health as a crutch for someone not to take accountability for the actions that they're doing. That's why I'm kind of see us going down that right route lately, and I find that very, very dangerous. Someone like Kanye is a train wreck that was planned, was going to crash eventually, because this has been going for a long time, and we, as a community, we have made excuses for Kanye and his actions. So what Dio said, whether he was a comedian or not, he said what we all was thinking. And of course, Kanye made a comment of coming, sending somebody to DL's home to do some harm to him or whatever. Well, once you threaten somebody and their family, I think the gloves are off at that point. And of course, DL go in full, Daryl Lynn go full blast.
Yeah, yeah. I think someone from Kanye's camp confronted DL too. So it's they're still playing the dozens. I still don't think there's any indicator to think it's anything other than the dozens. But I don't know. Whatever.
And speaking of
DL
Kanye,
has a pattern of this.
Go ahead.
DL has a pattern of this, and it's kind of.
Uh-oh. Hold on, say it again. You're breaking up a little bit. Go ahead, say it again. Uh-oh.
Oh, she froze on my side.
Uh-oh.
I think, first of all, oh no, here we go. It's dangerous to hold a mentally ill person to be accountable. Mental illness is not around a schedule or you tell someone that's mentally ill, you need to behave right now. That's not how it works. Also, DL has a pattern of doing this. I find it very interesting that he's doing this in defense of a woman. However, DL drug, was it Tony Terry, an old singer from a long time ago, about his assault, made fun of him over that. That's not funny. Even I don't like Terry Crews, but DL did make fun of Terry Crews about him being molested. Those are all like issues that there should. We tend to laugh at anything. Everything is funny. But there's some things that at a certain point, it's not funny. And he did the Tony Terry thing and the Terry Crews thing also on Vlad TV. So I don't know if Vlad likes to see him attack other black men or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vlad is definitely an instigator.
So DL needs to either figure out he's being used for that, but 3 times, I mean, Tony Terry, Terry Crews, and now Kanye. So I think DL went a little too far, only because it's the 3rd time he's done this. But I mean, it brings his profile. We're talking about him again, so I guess it was worth it. So I don't really think he did this out of any concern over Kim or concern over Kanye. It was more, we're talking about DL again.
Bobby, you want to chime in, or you want to get to some of these comments, Carmelita?
It doesn't matter to me. These guys are adults, and it just bothers me so much to see grown men gossiping on the internet like middle schoolers at a lunch table. Like I just can't do it on a personal level. It's just not the type of man that I am. Like, and that doesn't make me better than them. It just makes me different than them. But I just can't be one of those. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, it's hard.
I have a question though. Do you think that Dia would have went on a black podcast or a black show say the exact same thing?
Absolutely.
So what difference did it make?
I don't know that.
Dio is just that type of person that regardless of what platform he's on, he's gonna say what he wants to say, what's on his mind. And yes, he is a comedian, and I always look at comedians as people who kind of have no boundaries on who and what they say. So you can take what they say with a grain of salt and say to hell with them, or you can giggle with it and just go about your day. But I mean, Brad is definitely an instigator. I've always said he was an instigator. That's why Lord Jamar and what's the Godfrey don't come on that show anymore because they got called out by another black pocket. But that's a different conversation.
Well, they don't mess with him because they feel like he disrespected the minister. He did a sound bite and said that he did this quote and said the minister said some was encouraging violence against Jews, and he didn't say it, and he never apologized. So they said they were done. But here's the deal, and I want to get to Carmelita's, comments. But she's over here doing math problems and
Can
stuff.
I ask Trish a question though?
Yeah, please. You just
So this is the hard part. So like you were saying that mental illness does not run on a clock that's predictable. It's not on a clock that we can just say, oh, it's 3 o'clock. Now you're accountable, but at 4, it's okay. So how do you do it? Because sometimes we have folks that harm third persons because of their illness, but it's not like the injury that happens is contained. Like people can be harmed in serious ways by folks when they go through these episodes, for lack of better terms. So like if Kanye West has an episode and then he says, I'll give $100,000 to anybody who's willing to cut Pete Davidson's foot off, for example. It's really hard for me, like in my professional capacity, but also in my personal capacity, just as a human being, to say like, oh, I can't hold him accountable for that. It just makes me wonder where the line is, because I know like Precious sometimes will post something that happened in the world that was just completely ridiculous or outrageously heinous. And she'll say like, charge them like adults. I don't care. And it'll be somebody who's like 17. And I understand why she felt that way in that instance, but I also know someone's going to say, here's all the reasons you can't do that. And then my instant thought is, okay, on one hand, I have to disincentivize this behavior, but on the other hand, I'm not allowed to say that this person is bad. So what am I supposed to do? Like, what are we supposed to do?
And here's a question: if
let Doc respond real quick. Write it down, Precious, so you don't forget. Sorry.
It's an interesting question. First, because someone with a mental illness is more likely to be victimized than to victimize others. Yet the hypotheticals are usually posed as if the person that is mentally ill has harmed others, despite the fact data shows it's more likely to be the other way around. But given that they, at some point, they need to become accountable to get the help, but it doesn't excuse their behavior when they're in these phases. I think people have this general idea that when someone's mentally ill, that maybe it's like what the better parts of bipolar or something like that. But when you're dealing with people that have serious mental health issues that they need help for, it's not pretty. And there are also different avenues to hold them accountable for their actions. But, with you working in the courts, you also know that sometimes, and I won't say who, I've dealt with family members that have committed crimes, but cannot be held responsible for those crimes.
We can't meet the elements.
Because of their mental illness.
We can't meet the elements.
But those same people have been victimized by others more so than, the offense. I mean, it was like they did threats.
Well, and then they're not competent a lot of times.
Right, they weren't competent.
So like, that's my issue. So on the flip side, like you're saying, I had a person call me to, basically try and get accountability for a DV that they were a victim on. And so I'm on the phone with them for an hour. And I knew at the end of that hour, I could not put them on the stand. There would never be a time where I would be able to prove a case where they were the victim. And it's sad. I have an aunt who has learning disability. She's special, or what people used to say, retarded. And this person was the victim of a sexual assault that ended up giving her AIDS. This person, my aunt, loved her to death, never could testify, ever. Just doesn't have the capacity to do it. So I understand that, like on a personal level, I know what that looks like. But that's where people are going to make the argument that that's almost the cost of being able to face your accuser, and you have to be able to put on the record what occurred in a factual and believable way. And like you said, the issue is that people self-segregate and discriminate. They say, I won't believe somebody who I think is crazy.
Right.
And that's just that's people. That's a jury problem. That's not a law problem. It's a jury problem.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's good. That's a good back and forth. That's a good ping pong right there.
Right.
So what I hear you saying, Doc, is that Kanye hasn't really done anything to hurt anyone yet? It's not a trick question. Because I was about to bring up something about, and I want to come back to that question about DL, because we kind of pick and choose when we want to laugh at DL, because DL was one of the main people that went after Cosby, and he was just, and he has these. I guess he has a a thing with pills being the the punchline, because he said, "Hey man, because he didn't like Bill Cosby, what I'm saying, because he used to ridicule what I'm saying, black comedians for cursing." You know what I mean? And so he went out and say, "Hey man, I might cuss or say the word nigga, but no one ever woke up with their pants on.
Yeah, he said on Glad, yeah,
pill in they drink." So he used to go after Bill, and we were like, yeah, get it, Bill. And I would say Bill, has mental health issues. I think Bill is mentally ill. But the difference to defend you is that Bill actually hurt people. He did. He went to prison for it. And I can't say that Kanye has hurt anyone at the level of Bill, but has he hurt anyone at the level where it's justified for DL to do the same thing he did to Bill Cosby?
DL will attack and laugh at whoever society finds it acceptable for him to attack.
Even his own son. Yeah, he makes jokes about his autistic son. Yeah.
Yes. So he will attack whoever society acknowledges. So, the majority of Bill's public victims were white. So perfectly, because he knows he has the protection to attack him for that. Same thing with Kanye. So he will attack whoever he knows that he will be supported in attacking as a joke, because we laugh at anything can be funny, but and that's problematic.
Okay.
I don't know. DL kind of come off to me as someone who have no boundaries. Because then he made a joke about what's that actress name? Debbie Reynolds and her daughter. She playing on Star Wars. I never seen any Star Wars, by the way. I forgot. What's her name?
I don't know what he said. What he said?
But yeah, he said,
Fisher?
Yeah, her. Cause he made a little joke during that time too, talking about this is different between white moms and black moms. See, a white mom, she lose her kid, she gonna drop dead right there. Compared to black mothers, she may feel sad and all, but she not gonna croak over. She may have he said something in the similar that when that happened. Yeah, he kind of made something in sight of that, how black and white mothers handle grief. Yeah, he said something in the midst of that, and yeah, folks kind of came at him for that, but he didn't take back what he said. But I don't know, DL is what I like to call play on the dangerous side all the time.
I haven't thought he was funny since Comic View, so I don't know.
I ain't gonna lie, DL
he's got that political collegiate humor. He's got that college humor, that college comedy. He be getting deep. You know what I'm saying? Carmelita said, is what DL said going to help Kanye take responsibility for his behavior, or does it just allow us to collectively say that's what Kanye gets? I think both. I think he gave him some good game. I think telling him to take his pills and stop doing things that pushes your wife away if you wanted to get her back, is probably the best thing for you to do. But he just made it funny. Now, the other stuff that he said about, did the voices in your head, tell you what you, where, that's something different. That wasn't, you know, like advice or anything. I guess he could have just said that he don't like your clothing, you know, but I don't like Kanye's clothing. I got some jokes for it too, but I wouldn't have tied it to his mental health. I don't.
It's just that the
Yeah.
thing, but we're discussing this, but actually, you know, Kanye got it from multiple sides. So he got it from Trevor Noah as well. That impacted more of his, I'll say, income and profile than what DL said, because he was cut from performing based on, and that wasn't said in humor. So maybe I'm trying to devil's advocate. Maybe people were trying multiple ways to reach him. One using logic by an example, another with comedy, and neither one have seemed to reach him. So yeah, he really just needs somebody in his camp.
You know what I'm having a problem with this about, and I'm gonna have to keep it a kilo with y'all. I have a problem with this if this man is mentally ill, right? And I want to go back to something that Bobby said. He said these two grown men acting like, you know, kids or whatever you said, like middle schoolers and stuff. These are two grown adult entertainers, and this is their job. This is branding. This is their job. This is literally their job. This is what they do. But I want to push back strong on this, because if we're going to take this stance with Kanye, it's like, we know the brother, we're making accusations. He said, I have a heightened relationship with the universe. You know, I'm not bipolar, and, you know, and everyone's saying he's bipolar. And so it should be hands off. Don't make fun of Kanye. Leave him alone. Everyone knows he's mentally ill. Where was all this restraint and apprehension when he was wearing MAGA hats? Like, people were making, if this brother's mentally ill, then why do we find it so convenient to make fun of him and ridicule him when he was a Trump supporter? And I just really feel like if he's off limits, all hands off Kanye, because he's mentally ill, you can't make fun of him. Then that includes like everything he does. Don't make fun of him when he says, you know, slavery was a choice. Don't make no means, like, leave him alone. We can't just pick and choose when DL said, oh man, he says something about the voices in his head. Well, there was some voices in his head when they told him to put that MAGA hat on too. Mm-hmm. Like, we have been saying that's what Kanye gets for years. And I think that Kanye is cool with the exchange. I'm a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Talk what you want. I'm a genius. I have a STEM player. I have a documentary out. And it's like, y'all think I'm crazy. I ain't crazy. And I just like,
yeah,
if it's hands off, then it's hands off. And I think Kanye's cool with the exchange. And should we be cool with it if Kanye's cool with it?
It's interesting because when you say that, I'm also thinking back to when people were championing him from being from New Orleans, when he said that George Bush doesn't like Black people. We didn't say, was he mentally ill then too? Because being from New Orleans, I know there were a lot of people like, yeah, he's right. He doesn't like Black people. Then when he did the thing with Taylor Swift, was he also mentally ill then? Because there were also people that were like, yeah, Taylor didn't deserve that, and he did the right thing. So it's weird to cherry pick when we decide that we aren't addressing his mental illness, or what things are actually manifestations of a manic phase and which aren't. And I mean, do we specifically know his diagnosis? Is he specifically, because there are different types of bipolar? Is he 1, 2? When do we know when he's in a manic phase, and when is he, in that depressed phase? So where do we move the bar in terms of, yeah.
Is he a narcissist? Mm-hmm. Who are we getting his medical examination from? I don't recall no psychologist came out, or a therapist. Although that's kind of his personal business.
I could, for every Kanye West, I can give you about 3 or 4 entertainers that act just like him, if not worse. And I don't see anyone throwing out no diagnosis. I read Will Smith's book. Ain't no one ever called that man bipolar, a narcissist, none of that stuff. He says it in his book. I got issues. Will got some issues, and he admits it.
I got
And that makes the book so good.
Yeah.
Will got some issues, man. But we don't be saying nothing like that about Will. We don't. You know?
Can you show me the behavior
Yeah.
that Will has done in a public space that even like fractionally is comparable?
Oh, I have one, but it's not Will Smith. Remember when Mariah Carey came out with her ice cream? We don't constantly
yes, I do
say that, oh, Mariah, everything that Mariah does, that, oh yeah, well, she's mentally ill. She has this problem. But that could have been either, I don't know what was going on with her at that point, but she isn't written off with that brush constantly.
Well, I recall Mariah Carey revealing that she had bipolar a few years back. I remember she did came out and said that she'd been battling bipolar for some years. So I don't know. I'm looking at it. Is having a breakdown mean you're mentally ill, or you just having a moment?
Man, yeah, that's a good point. I like what the Facebook users say. We got some, incognito Negro stuff going on here. Facebook.
Don't know who you are, Facebook user, but thank you.
Some kind of way with the anonymous nature of this, but mental illness doesn't mean you're incapable of functioning at some point in life. In this particular moment, he may be having a breakdown. Okay, yep. And to add on to that, I want to say, and I'm just going to push back a little bit. Okay, what entertainer out there, celebrity, is not a narcissist then? It's not bipolar. It just come with the job then? It's like when you get your SAG card and when you become a card carrying celebrity, I can find these traits in so many, if not all, celebrities, from 50 Cent to, I mean, you name them, Eminem. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but 50 Cent made a great point when someone asked 50 why he doesn't get canceled, and 50 was like, I've never ever put myself out there as anything other than 50 Cent. Like I'm a rapper. He's like, so if I say some ignorant stuff, they're like, he's a rapper. But if you put yourself out there and you say you're God, for example, as a starting point, then you're elevating the standard of review. The level of scrutiny is going to be higher because you brought that upon yourself. So I think that a lot of what Mr. West faces on a day-to-day now in terms of being written off is the result of him elevating, and this is an accomplishment, by the way, for him, elevating our expectations for him with him saying, I'm a genius. I live on the edge of absolute omnipresence and nothingness and all these things that make no sense to people who just operate in reality. He says all this stuff and he's made us believe it, I guess, because we hold him to those standards that he puts out there. So on one hand, it's just like, wow, he is a narcissist and we bought into it and we've accepted his view of himself as a fact. That's the reason that we call him out when he doesn't meet the standard that he says he's at. It's pretty impressive if you think about it.
I know this might be a stupid question. Well, there's no real stupid questions. Yeah, there are. I don't know if this is one. There are some stupid questions, but do a whole episode on stupid questions. But I read somewhere that Kanye is the highest paid black man in America. And I don't know if that's true or not.
Do we know every black man's salary though?
I don't know, but he's worth $6 billion is what I heard. So him being worth $6 billion, and we know that's the premium that he seems to put on life. I mean, other than his children, that seems like a focus that's high in his value system. I don't think he really cares too much, as long as he's a billionaire.
Well, he said that. He actually said that. I don't know if you watched
Cool.
But he said that. He said that he had a text message. My favorite part of the episode was when he had a group text with Drake and all these other people.
Yeah, I do remember this.
And he said, I'm y'all's leader. And Lauryn Hill, who I love this for Lauren, texted him back and said, you're a leader. And that's all that needed to be said. That was great. It was great. It was great.
And
Yeah.
he is
So
not the
having a
wealthiest
hard
Black
time.
man.
Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, he's not the wealthiest Black man. That is actually Robert Smith from Vista Equity, who's
Okay.
worth much more than him. But he and Forbes did a whole article on it that no, he's not. But
Yeah,
he thinks he is.
that's why you can't believe every meme. That's why I said, I mean, I read it somewhere, but $6 billion is a lot of money. He's definitely a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be like buy a pack of gum and not be a billionaire anymore. He's deep in the billions. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I have a hard time caring if Kanye does it. I have a hard time. I don't think he cares too much other than being a venture capitalist and how much money and resources he can accumulate. And for people like that, I think my attention and our attention, especially on a show that is based on community building, that we should focus on the people who actually care about more than just acquiring resources and accumulating as much money as possible. I mean, that's what I think. But I mean, y'all can chime in if y'all want. I think that he makes that much money and has that many resources for a reason, and that when he wants to wake up one day because he does have access to resources and opportunities, that he has a better chance of doing it than someone who's not wealthy. I'll put it that way. And that's why I was like, not so much he that's what he gets. Not so much it's okay to make fun of Kanye West, but it's like he puts a high premium on how much money he makes for a reason, because he has privilege and he's a lot better off than people who don't, that are in close proximity to us. That's why I just feel like kind of he's kind of like a Ukrainian. It's just like too far removed from me.
I do have some thoughts, but I'm gonna leave it for my point of action. I'm gonna close it out with my point of action.
Yeah. I also have a problem with, and I don't know if I should call it a problem. I also have, well, I'll just say it for lack of a better word. I have a problem who's a person, almost every person that they name drop and the person they look up to and they admire is a white man.
That could be said for many Black men, though.
And I just like, that's just not, I don't know. That just rubs me the wrong way. He's a Walt Disney this, he's Elon Musk this, he's this fashion designer this, and it's like all about these Eurocentric metric systems and value systems, and just like, bro, if that's who you rocking with, then that's who you rocking with. Then you don't need the support of Black folks then. And I don't think he really he even wants our support. I really don't. I really don't think Kanye even wants Black people's support. I think that he leveraged some of his career and his success off the plight of Black people, mentioning certain things. George Bush doesn't care about Black people. His connection with with hip hop and you know what he said on Drink Champs? He said, "Man, I never was a backpacker. I just did that." And I'm like, so you just used an aspect of the culture, which represents the most underground of the culture, just to like use it as a platform to be around here and just mock us. You know what I'm saying? To be like, well, I was just trying to act like I was conscious. It's all about, I was just trying to be a billionaire. And I have an issue with Black people like that. Like, you don't need our support.
At that point, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you don't need our support. You got our support. You got money. And that's the reason why, you know what I'm saying? You say the things you say, like, like about abortion and all these other things, because you cross to the other side and your allegiance is to conservative white people. That's your base. When you piss them off, then you probably gonna have a problem. You don't want to piss them off. You can piss Black people off all you want. You can say, oh, Harriet Tubman really didn't do nothing for us. You can say slavery was a choice, because you're pissing off people that don't matter to you. Piss off this estate of Walt Disney. Now that's a problem. So I don't know. What y'all think? So we can close out.
He's doing what I like to call malingering. Is it would that be when did he say that? If you don't mind me asking, when he said about the backpack, I don't keep up with Kanye West and his antics, unless it's all in my damn news feed. But when did he say that? Because at this point, it's like, is he malingering at this point?
What you mean? What you mean by that?
What I mean by is he saying that he has the mental illness to get away with that type of stuff? Like if he's saying he's mentally ill, and then I say, oh, I just did that shit because I fucking wanted to.
I don't know.
So how incompetent are you?
Yeah, Carmelita says that's not malingering. I don't. I'm not hit. I'm be the first to say, man. I think I'm a very intelligent person. If I don't know something, I don't know something. I can't speak on it.
Yeah, it's when you're faking an illness to get out of something, of a duty or whatever. That's what pretty much what malingering is.
Okay. All right. Bobby's nodding his head. Okay, so
I'm not aware that Bobby did
it. Carmelita said, I think y'all are ignoring the traumatic and altering effects of being in the industry can have on Black artists. Do we pick and choose with traumas to acknowledge, ignoring those suffered by people with money? I'm not ignoring it at all. I think there's a lot of Black people who are in the industry that have traumatic effects, but they don't, align themselves with white people all the time. And, what I'm saying? Put money over certain principles and just make the comments that he does. And so, I mean, what he does bothers me. I'm not ignoring the fact that he's traumatized by the industry. I understand it. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it bothers me. That's all I'm saying. I don't say I want anything wrong to happen to him. I honestly don't think he needs our support, or nor does he want it, because he's a billionaire.
I also, and the fact that we're saying these type of things kind of go back to what we have a problem with coddling Black men who are problematic. Because let's keep it real. We have all the gloves up when it comes to Candace Owens and her foolishness. We have the gloves. We take the gloves off for her. We don't really call her no names or anything, but we don't give her no slack. I mean, do she got a mental illness to my knowledge? I don't think she do. But again, I don't know that woman like that or follow her to even know.
Yeah. Yeah. Carmelita says there are poor Black people who align themselves with white people also, and I talked about that in my whole little diatribe and ran on Kanye, but they don't have the resources like he does. So, they poor Black people who align themselves with white people. I feel like they, I deal with those people a lot in our school system. I think they need our support more than a Kanye is. That's all I'm saying. So. And Candace,
I think Kanye needs our support. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want our support, but he needs our support.
I said that too.
Yeah, he don't want it.
Yeah, but I also don't think the resources are available at the higher echelons either. I mean, there's definitely a need for more resources at all levels, but at some point he will come to the realization he needs our help. Hopefully it's not too late by then.
Honestly, I don't see that one happen. But hey, miracles happen every day.
Yeah. Or Black wake-up calls.
I can't see Kanye asking the Black community for...
Me either. I don't see that one happen. How old is he? 41, 42? I don't know how old he is. Again, I don't keep up Kanye that much. I don't see that how happening. That'll be a cold day in hell.
Yeah, I said the same thing about Cosby though. When they were like before he got, brought up on those charges like years ago. I'm like, this is a guy, you know what I'm saying? I don't remember him ever asking us for help. And we could focus our attention on other Black people that don't have those resources, All right, let's get down to it. Like what's the plan of action? Unless Bobby, you got something you want to say and add on to that? We've been rocking for an hour and a half. This is
I guess I'm torn, because one thing that I always want to stand for is the right for any person, but especially for Black people, to have interests, beliefs, etc., that are different than the majority of our community. I want people to retain those rights regardless of how high they reach in status. So while I wish that Kanye was more interested in what Robert Smith was doing than whoever the Gucci family or whoever it is that he looks after. I don't want to fault him for saying, hey, I want to be involved in fashion. I think Gucci's the best. They just so happen not to be black. I want to replace Gucci because he'd be the first to tell you that is that he wants to usurp them. But then you would have an issue because in the end he would say, but I want to be known as an artist. I want to be known as a fashionista, but not a black one. He would say that would come out of his mouth. And so I understand where some people are taken back by that, but I want black people to have the right to take the position that their race is not the center of their identity, because all the elite white people they don't have to carry that weight. Mm. So it's not fair to then say, that's your brick, as we say in the Divine Nine, like this is your burden. Now, like I've shared before, I carry my brick, but that's a choice that I make.
Are you throwing up gang signs, bro?
No, this is how you'd have to hold your brick up like this when you're online. Mm. And so I'm like, if he doesn't want to carry that brick, I can't be upset with him because it's heavy. Mm. And so I understand that, and I want to reserve the right for people to just say, hey, I want to be elite.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a black elite. I want to be elite who's black.
Gotcha.
And I want you to forget about that. I want you to forget about that black part. And I'm not going to be upset with them for that. I'm going to be upset with them because we talk about this a lot. Sometimes people who have elite privilege and influence can say things that disturb the peace, disturb the ability of others to advance who don't have the same skills, abilities, and resources. That's the sin. The rest of it, I don't care about.
You want to go ahead and get into the plan of action? What's your plan of action based on all the things we talked about tonight? Blacks in the Ukraine, how they're being treated. Brittany Griner, how she's being treated in Russia, and her whole situation, and Kanye West. We don't have to have a plan of action for each one of them. I guess we can just pick and choose. Or what is your plan of action as we walk away from these three topics tonight?
Well, I guess I go first. Well, Miss Brittany, all I can say about her, I don't know much of her backstory like that. I know she played for Baylor, which was a college I did want to attend to when I was in high school, but unfortunately, I couldn't get in at the time, but I went somewhere else. But anywho, I hope everything works in her favor. I'm not sure what life would be for her after she come back to the States. Mm-hmm. So I wish her the best of luck in that arena. As for Ukraine, what Trisha said is valid. The only thing I think we should focus on is if we're going to have to get our people involved in terms of warfare. That's probably the only thing I'm probably concerned about. But other than that, I would care about Ukraine the same way they care about the black people over there. That's my level of care on that one. As for the Kanye West, what I want to say about Kanye West is one of those people that you so poor that all you have is money. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to yourself is money. If a woman have to get up with 4 children to leave you and all that money behind, says a whole damn lot. Mm-hmm. For her to get up knowing she got 4 kids and still want to get out of it, says a lot. That just goes to show money really isn't everything. And it's just not enough money in the world if you're dealing with a character like him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, let me say that it's different types of people unlike Kanye that does the type of thing. But I'm just saying, it just goes to show he has all the money in the world, but he couldn't keep the woman he wanted to stay with. So how rich are you really? And that's my plan of action.
Thank you. Bobby, Doc, what's up? What you guys got?
I guess I'll go. I'll just say mental illness aside, I'm going to go the Trevor Noah route. Every day in America, there's people in DV relationships that are harmed seriously because someone is going through a mental breakdown, because someone lacks conflict resolution skills, because of stressors, because of trauma. And all of those are tragedies. But just know that these are real people that are involved, and the danger with talking about Kanye West as an academic subject is that it's more than an academic subject. It's actually like two human beings. So we should keep that in mind. And it's very likely that in our personal lives, we all know Kim and Kanye. It's extremely likely.
Yeah.
And it's more than something to talk about. And so I would just say that.
Mm.
And didn't Kanye call Noah a coon for his comment?
Oh,
Yes, he.
yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, I'll go set mine, and then Doc
Peter
and
Price.
Dr. Diamond can finish last. I'll say, recognize your privilege. That's what I took away from every single topic tonight is, and recognize and don't run away from it. Like, you know, like look at what privileges that you have, look at what's earned and what's unearned, and then what you gonna do about it, what you gonna do with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just mine, short and sweet. I think that so many times we think that because someone has more privilege than us, then it gives us the justification to ignore the privilege that we have. And I don't think that's a very wise thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. I think, well, jumping around first, if you're going as a Black person, if you're going to travel, try to make yourself aware of the laws in that country, as well as how to interact with that country's law enforcement. Different countries have different ways that you interact. Don't expect the US, don't rely on what American privilege, because that passport may mean absolutely nothing. Or it has the value that other people ascribe to it based on what you look like or what resources you have access to. Make yourself or try to be aware of mental health challenges that people are dealing with, because there's probably a good chance that you're interacting on a daily basis with other people that have mental health issues. Be that support for them. So be that voice of reason. So I know sometimes we are compelled to just, I don't want to say kiss everyone's ass, but just to be friendly and not to rock the boat, but be truthful to people that need help and be direct about it. Don't just like laugh about it behind their back. Someone needs to be accountable to go and consistently tell them that they need to get help. Of course, it's something that they need to do on their own. But if they're surrounding themselves with yes people, then of course they're not going to do that. So like Bobby said, that we probably also all know situations with people that are like Kim and Kanye, and yet why didn't she or he leave sooner? There's the most dangerous time when you're in a DV situation is the point that you're leaving someone, and there's a reason for that. So stop asking that question and being more supportive.
Well said. Well, another great episode. Man, it's good to be back. I want y'all to stay tuned. Dr. Diamond and Precious, y'all going after this, after hours, or?
Yeah, we'll go after hours.
Make sure y'all check out C Talk after this, C Talk Part 2, After Hours. What's the official name?
Seed Talk After Hours, planting the seed.
Okay. Yeah, planting the seed overnight. Yeah.
All right. Plants for moonlight. Got you. So yeah, make sure you check out that, and make sure you check out later on the week. Had a very, very good, interesting, robust meaningful conversation with Divinity on trans athletes that I'm going to be putting out later this week, either tomorrow or Friday. It was really, really good. And so y'all stay tuned for that. Bobby, Dr. Diamond, and Precious, we'll see you later. Love y'all. Peace. We out.
Yeah.